Hello and welcome to NDTV. I'm Rohit Khilnani. Joining me is Rasika Dugal. If you're watching any web show these days, she will be in it. This is the best time.
Yes, very busy times. Last year I was shooting for all of this, and now all of this is coming out together.
So it's great. So we'll come back to all this. But tell me, Rasika, how many years? It's been about 10, 12 years?
Yeah.
When you're so busy and your shows are out there, your film is in the theatres, do you remember those days?
You know, funnily enough, I used to think I was always busy. Even when I didn't have a lot of work, I think I'm the kind of person, you give me one job, I'll take the whole day to do it. You give me two jobs, I'll take the whole day to do it. So the job kind of occupies the time that I give it. So I always felt that I was very busy even then.
Right.
Because I was doing many things even at that time. I had theatre shows which were running, and I was doing smaller parts in a lot of films. So I never felt like I was free. Of course, the pressures are different now, and I'm happy for that. But I never felt that I had a lot of time ever since I've been in Bombay.
Right. Tell me, but at that time, this is amazing mainstream work. At that time, was it difficult to get to this point where you are?
Yes. I mean, it's taken this much time.
Yeah, it's a lot of time.
And also, I think it's easier now because there's so much more work and there's so much more acknowledgement of the idea that you really need actors who can contribute to the project with their acting skills rather than just people who can, help sell your project.
Right.
So that is, I think, changed a lot.
Right.
Also, with the digital space, there's so much more work.
Right.
So things have changed a lot. It is difficult, it takes time, and it's such a matter of chance.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's about who you met when they were casting for something and somehow you fit into this.
Right.
For instance, I bumped into Richie. Richie and I were friends. We call each other festival friends.
Right.
Because we had met at several festivals when I was traveling for Kissa and he was traveling with Siddharth.
Okay.
And we'd known each other, but when he was casting for Delhi, he was writing Delhi Crime, he hadn't really thought about me. We bumped into each other when he was on a recce in Delhi and I was shooting for Made in Heaven.
Okay.
And he just happened to come to the same location that we were shooting in. So, and then he was like, yeah, I should ask Rasika to do this. See, it's just,
right place, right time.
Yeah, it's so random. Even if you know somebody, they might not think of you at a particular time. It's a miracle when you get cast in anything. And it's a miracle that the film gets done.
Right,
or the project gets done.
I remember last time, Rasika, you were telling me that, I don't know which film this was for, but someone called you in Delhi and you said, okay, I'm coming and let's do this. And you all spoke. And then on the last day, you figured, who are these people I'm working for? Is it safe? Is it so? Tell me, is that the kind of work? Because you want to do more work. Is this how it works in this industry? You have to go with your gut. That this sounds good. I have to go with it.
I mean, that's how I instinctively respond to things actually. And it's only, I don't think things through. Otherwise, I keep telling people, otherwise I wouldn't have been an actor. If I thought it through, there's no good reason why you should be here. Really, there's no logical reason why you should be here because it's such a matter of chance, I said. So that's how I take decisions. It's not always the smartest thing to do. But I can't help myself. And I think it served me well also. So I think you need to sometimes, just
go with your feelings. Yeah.
Because I think that's the only reality existing at that point.
Right.
There is, you can make any number of smart decisions, strategize,
plan,
but nothing goes according to plan, in my opinion. Or maybe I'm just not good at planning. I don't know what it is.
In hindsight, was that a good decision?
Oh yes, it was for the school bag.
Oh, it was okay. So it was, of course, a great decision.
Yeah. So I mean, I instinctively responded to the script and I felt good about this director who had just spoken to on the phone.
Right.
It's only later when I thought it through, I said, I'm going to a small village close to Delhi, shooting with these guys who I've never met before.
But how come no meeting before that? Nothing?
We just spoken on the phone because they were in Delhi.
Okay.
And I was in Bombay. And they didn't have the budgets they were just sort of making it with, pulling favors and borrowing money and making the film. It felt right.
Felt right.
But, and I was right. The instinct was correct. But it's just that when the logic kicked in much later for me, then that's when I was like, oh my God, I have to check this again.
When you get an offer, what is your process of signing? Do you read the whole thing? Do you go by the producer? Do you go by your co-actors, or it's a package of everything?
A mix of everything.
Right.
Of course, I read the script. That is important. The kind of role, what the role is teaching you, the length of role sometimes, how it's contributing to the narrative, I think, primarily.
Right.
That's important to me. But I think over the last few years, what has become very, very important to me is the kind of people I'm working with.
Right.
And that is the director and the co-actors.
Right.
Because whether we like to believe it or not, there is very little which is in our control as actors.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and if we believe otherwise, then we are being slightly delusional.
Yeah, you want to explain to people, why do you say that?
Because when you're shooting for a film, you really don't know how it's going to be put together.
Okay.
And that is totally in the hands of the director. And you can read a script and you can get a sense of the script, but ultimately what kind of politics it subscribes to, you're not 100% sure.
Right.
Because the intent might be right, but the translation of the writing into a visual is a long journey. And that is done by the director.
And actors just playing that one part. The film will have a lot of other aspects.
And it's a simple thing like what comes before your shot and after a shot is decided on the edit table, and that can totally change everything. What you're doing. And also I think when you're working for cinema, the one thing that I'm extremely dependent on the director for, which is almost everything in a performance, is the intensity of that moment.
Right.
I don't have a sense of the intensity of the moment because I don't know what music the director is going to put. I don't know how exactly this frame is lit. I don't know what is coming before what. It's the vision of the director.
So it's important to see, to work with someone you really trust.
Yeah, it's important. Like for instance, when I was signing on to Manto, when I read the script, I felt that it was a very beautiful script, but some people told me that, Safia is a very, she might not come out as important in the story.
Right.
And I knew in my conversations with Nandita that Nandita would never be the person to make this a wife role. She would give it something more than that. And she had told me that she wanted to, and her intent was clear. It's Nandita. I knew fully well that that I didn't have to worry about her politics in any way. In fact, I was more than happy to be working with somebody like that, and with Richie, when signing on to Delhi Crime, it's a very difficult story to tell, and sensitivity is of prime importance in this, and it can go anyway. It's a fine line at several places.
I totally agree.
So you have to, I think, just instinctively trust the director's politics.
Right. When as you grow and become successful, a lot of people around you may tell you, friends or professionals, don't do this, don't take up this may not be good for your career. Who do you listen to?
I don't listen to anybody. Means I listen to everybody. I don't really
go by.
I don't have the ability to change the way I make decisions.
Right.
I think I'm quite helplessly instinctive.
That's working very well.
So even if, like, when I first came, people said don't take up smaller parts. It will be very difficult to transition to bigger roles. And I did about 10 films in 2 scene roles. And at that time I said, listen, I don't know any other way to connect with people than through my work. I can go to a party, but I'm not the person who will make friends there. I'll probably say a polite hello, but I really won't know what to do with myself after that.
Right.
So the only way that I can genuinely connect with somebody is through my work. So I'll take the plunge. If it's going to be a problem later, I'll see. Dekha jayega, And it was that advice was not wrong.
It took a long time.
I had to say no to several smaller parts after that. But also I said no to them at that point because in the beginning of my career, I felt that, okay, I've studied at the Film Institute, but I also need to know, do I really know how to do this job? Institute is another thing.
Being on set is different.
Being on set is another thing. But after a while, I felt that I know how to do this. I know how to do a scene efficiently. Now I want to know how you build a character. How do you see it through something in the narrative?
Right.
So
because people say that, was there never a worry about, okay, I may never get a mainstream part?
That's always a worry. It continues. It's not like I'm devoid of that worry today.
Right.
I think insecurity is you have to befriend it
Yeah,
as an
yeah,
actor,
totally. Yeah,
and just
yeah.
say that okay, you're there, and
Right.
we're friends now.
Right.
So let's just make our peace, and we'll be together on this journey.
Right.
So that's how I deal with
But
it.
there's been a lot of success, since whatever show I talk about, say, and when I was talking about, telling people that I'm interviewing you, everybody says her turning point was Mirzapur, her turning point was Manto, her turning point is Delhi Crime. What do you think has there been a turning point?
I think how I look at it is it a turning point for me in terms of my work?
Yes.
Because that's the only way I
Right.
know how to look at
Okay.
it. And I think for me it was Kissa.
It was Kissa?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
right.
it was really a role that I loved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally enjoyed being a part of it. And I think just working with Irfan, Tiska,
Yeah,
Tilotma
yeah.
in Punjab and with Anoop was a very, very special experience. And I
Right.
hadn't had it up until then.
Right.
I've had experiences like that after that because Manto was
Right.
probably the next experience like
Right.
that. But that was the first time. And I think it really gave me a lot of confidence in working in this industry and
Right.
with people, with the kind of people I met on that project.
Right. Sadly I didn't get to interview you earlier, but I interviewed Nandita and Nawaz for Manto, and that's where Nawaz was saying that I become the character. So I became Manto personally also. At home I was Manto. Are you also like that as an actor? Do you take your character back home?
Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not so conscious of it, and I don't want to be.
Right,
Because
yeah.
I feel that
It's not always a great thing.
you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Because if you're so conscious of something, then you won't reach there.
Right.
Because it is really, I think, the most beautiful thing to see in a performance is when you surprise yourself more than anything else.
Right,
Where you
right.
didn't expect that there would be these so many absolutely illogical emotions which find you while you're on take.
Right, yeah.
Nothing that you could have sat in your vanity van and described or worked out with your director. The true magic is when
Right.
something really absurd happens between two actors
yeah,
on
yeah.
shot. It's happened
magical.
in Kissa, it's
Right.
happened in Manto, and if you hit even one of those moments in one film or one project, I think that my time has been worth it.
Wow. Yeah.
But that can only be subconscious. I don't think that you can plan it. Once it's planned, it's not. It's lost its magic.
Right.
It has to surprise you. And I think the first time I experienced that was with when Irfan and I had this really tough scene in the last part of Kissa. I don't know if you watched it, but
of
the
course.
last part, the film goes into a very magic realism
Right.
space. And magic realism is not something that you can. It's not logic.
Yeah, understanding on a set is in fact even more
So
difficult.
how do you play this scene? And
So how did you all play that scene?
so and we reshot the scene because the first time we shot it, there was just nothing in it.
Wow.
And all of us felt it. We just didn't know what to do about it. So I
my
just kept
God,
looking at
right.
Anoop and Irfan helplessly, saying that you guys are more experienced. Help me out. This film is very important for me.
Right.
And they were both also feeling that, but we didn't know how to correct it. And then Anoop said, I want to reshoot this scene. And
Okay.
and I don't know whether Anoop really knew whether we were going to get it, but he
Right.
just changed one gesture.
Wow.
And there was just
It
was just something else. And we did 8 takes of it because it was a difficult camera
Right.
movement and all those technicalities had to happen. And every one of those takes was so beautiful and so special. I can never forget that. And that was
Wow.
the first time that had happened.
Wow, that's why the magic it just shows. How is it with Irfan? He must be amazing to be on a set with, right?
There's something very, very special about him as an
Right.
actor. I think he just connects with like the universe at one moment.
Right, yeah,
He
yeah,
just
yeah,
has
it shows,
he has this very beautiful ability.
Right. And then also came Hamid, which I really enjoyed. How did that happen? That was also one of your instincts that you just said I should do this.
I actually said no.
Oh,
to
really?
Hamid. Yeah.
And then?
I said no because I got nervous. I felt that I didn't have enough time to prepare for the part, and I didn't I was playing a Kashmiri woman whose husband is missing.
Right.
And I felt that I didn't want to do any disservice to this narrative.
But because you were busy, or?
No, I just felt the film came to me at a time where it was about a month away from shooting.
Okay.
And I felt that I really had to put in a lot of work which I didn't have time for. And at that time. And I was nervous about doing, like I said, disservice to the narrative of the people of Kashmir. And there's just too much that's happened there. And I actually said... I felt that I would always be an outsider to that story, no matter what I did. Even if I had 2 months, I felt that they should cast a Kashmiri person. Because I think for a place which has been in conflict for so long, only people who live there can truly understand what people...
I know exactly what you mean, but me, as a viewer, you worked very well in the movie.
Now I feel yes, it worked. I have to admit, because something did happen.
Right.
But I was nervous about it, and I said, so Ijaz said, no, listen, I'm very sure you can do it. But I think it's important to ask yourself this question every time, that who is an insider and who is an outsider to telling a story. Because I don't know, for instance, how... I haven't got any feedback from my Kashmiri friends yet. I don't know what they think about it. And also, it's not about just being Kashmiri. Where have they lived in Kashmir? What have they seen of the
mentality, the whole, they live the life.
So, I feel as a viewer, if I had to look at it and living in Bombay, I feel that yes, I think the job was probably done with integrity. But maybe there are people who don't feel that.
No, there are always people, but that's the actor's job, and you did it very well. Also, Made in Heaven, what good feedback you got for that?
So many people have watched it.
Of course, everybody binge watched it one day.
So that was actually Alankrita and I were in college at the same time. So we had, the first play I had done was, Alankrita was a part of it. And we'd been wanting to work with each other for a while. And वो हो ही नहीं रहा था. मतलब things were almost working out, not working out for one reason or the other. That kept happening. And then she said, this is a small part, but let's just start this at least. So I said, we should do that. So, good. It was good fun.
It was great.
I really liked the writing of the show, actually.
It was fantastic, and that, in fact, that show, everybody is so proud that these kind of web shows are coming from here. And then came Delhi Crime. When I interviewed you guys as a group on that round table, that was the question I wanted to personally ask you also. When you were offered this as an actor, what's the first thing that crosses your mind when you're offered a role of a police officer, on the Nirbhaya case?
I was nervous about the Nirbhaya case, but I was extremely thrilled about playing an IPS officer.
Right.
Because I really felt that it's another world to enter. And that was exciting to me. I was not so nervous about this as much as the Kashmir film, because that I felt was a conflict situation, which is hard.
Right.
There are nuances of it which are very difficult.
True.
You might sympathize something. You might not be able to truly empathize with that person. But this, I thought, was something that I could. And it was interesting to me to see how they trained, how IPS officers trained, or what they think about the work that they're doing. And I was interested in sort of exploring that world. And again, this is something which is again a very complicated case and so serious. The director, you knew him from before. You're saying you're a festival friends, and so there was obviously a lot of faith to do a story like that with him, right? I trusted Richie's politics implicitly, but also it was the script was proof of that. So when I read the script, I knew that he's really researched this well, and he really intends to tell this story sensitively. So that was very reassuring.
There was no scope of going wrong after reading the script, you felt?
It was actually one of the best scripts that I have read in a while. And that was very, very reassuring. And also, but I even if one of these two weren't there, I mean, definitely if the script was not sensitive, I would have definitely not done it. And even if the script was and I didn't know Richie well enough, I might not have done it.
Right. Yeah. In the past 2-3 days, many people have watched your shows, and there are all kinds of reactions. Someone reached the one scene where the girl is talking, and they stopped it because they could not watch and go further. Then the next day they continued and they moved on to other episodes. When you're doing that, Are you all also, because here as a viewer, I'm living the story while I'm watching it. Are you all also living the story while doing it?
Yes,
Yeah,
there is no
yeah,
other way.
yeah.
I think so, and you want to live it
Yeah.
because that's your job as an actor, and that's why you're there. So when you're doing it, definitely you're totally living. Your
were
attempt
there-
is to be able to live it.
True,
live it.
true. Yeah. So were there moments when you were disturbed about the way it happened on the set? Because it's a reminder again and again. We've already seen it so many times.
Yes, but I wanted to be reminded.
Okay.
Because I felt that there was no other way to do this except to go there, and also I felt that I wanted to be reminded
Right.
because I felt guilty that I had become complacent after this incident had gotten over and fallen back into accepting things and not really fighting back or changing the way people treat women in society, and not really questioning patriarchy at every stage, which I think you encounter every 2 steps that you take every day in your life as a woman. And so you say, "Chalo, let it go," and we say these are the smaller things. Choti baat hai, chodo, bhul jao.
Right.
And it's not a choti baat, because
not
that's
at all.
what really I think enables a crime like this to finally happen.
Right.
And we only start talking about it when there is an act of violence,
Yeah.
and then we sort of slip back into our lives. And I felt that in one sense, it was almost like assuaging my guilt by being on this project.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
There's a lovely scene between you and your friend who plays the army officer, and where he's asking you about telling you what you're up to and why you're so busy, and you don't want to give out because you're working on a special case, but he insists that you can tell me, and you still go on to saying that if you were on an operation, I wouldn't have asked you. This is exactly what such an impact that scene made, because we're talking about patriarchy, and that's how a girl is thinking that it's my work and I won't tell you. What was that scene like?
So I think for Neeti, she's a spirited person,
Right.
and I think that spirit and that the desire to do something good and that kind of idealism sort of supersedes everything else. So in her mind, there's no I think understanding that she is questioning patriarchy,
Right.
but it's just inherent.
It's just her.
She's watching out for herself because she's because she has self-worth, and that's all. I mean, if you had a conversation with Neeti about, she wouldn't be able to probably articulate it like this and say, he's a guy, so why should he say this to me?
Yeah, it's not that.
People don't do that in their lives. These are all retrospective ideas. They respond to things very instinctively and immediately. And possibly subconsciously somewhere, the idea that this has happened to somebody like her, and it could have been her, subconsciously is all there, but not that she can even articulate.
Right. There's another very strong dialogue that you have when you're told by your DCP that these criminals are with us now, and you just look at them and say, I don't even want to touch them. Tell me, is that very intense on the set as well?
That scene was for all of us, I think, because if you just even read those lines, it's very hard.
It's very hard.
It's very, very hard. And also when they're performed like that, in that chilling way, it was very difficult for everybody on set that day. And I think that is something that everybody, all the actors remember.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Tell me, what kind of feedback have you got for Delhi Crime? Who all wrote tweets that you remember, fans, industry?
Lots of them actually, and it's been very heartwarming.
Right.
And I think Delhi Crime is really one of those projects that, like after we even did screenings for everybody, I almost felt that I didn't want to meet people after this because I don't want feedback on my performance. It's not about that.
Right.
It was really a project which is
bigger than that.
Bigger than that.
Right.
So, but still people have written very warmly to us that... and also, I mean, I guess because they've seen me in different sorts of things, Manto Mirzapur recently, Made in Heaven, Hamid, all of that. And this is a little different from that. Right. So I think somebody wrote on Twitter recently, is there something that you can't do? So I felt very happy.
Very good question, yeah.
I felt very happy about that.
What did you reply?
I just said thank you. I don't know how to respond to this.
Right.
It does make me feel happy, but I don't know how to respond to
No,
it.
but that was a correct question to ask. That person should be a journalist. Tell me, the web space, is it great that these shows are online, that everybody across the world is sitting and can sit and watch? Is it, for an actor, is it a great thing that you think that it's online?
Yes,
Yeah?
it's a relief for me,
Right.
because most of the films that I've done have been in the theatres maximum for 2 weeks.
Right.
And honestly, when Kissa had released and
Right.
it had got such a poor release, I used to hang around with the DVD of Kissa anytime that anybody would say. And there was one Google ad that I had done at that time, which everybody really liked. And they used to say, "Oh, listen, we've seen you in the Google ad." And I used to almost feel cheated.
Yeah.
I was like, "Here is a DVD of Kissa. Please watch it." So at least now there's a space where
Correct.
your film has a life beyond the theatre. I mean, if Hamid is going to, Hamid is still in few theatres, but I know it's not accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
So at least I hope that
True.
it can be watched digitally later.
Yeah.
And for the series format, I think there's so much viewership of it.
Absolutely, world over that too.
Yeah, I've never had a worldwide release for my films. So this is the first time that I have access to a wider audience.
No, we are also glad that we can just press of a button, we can watch you. Before we go, now that we are putting any show you're in it, what can you tell us? What more to expect in the near future?
I can't actually tell you the name of the film, but there's a film which is possibly the most commercial film that I have done, which might not still qualify as commercial, I'm not sure, and in the comic space. So both sort of new for me, and that I'm really looking forward to. It should be out soon, I think. They should be announcing it soon also.
Right.
Then there's a film that I've done which is an independent film, but an improvised film.
Okay.
So a very new way of working, where we sort of had a structure to every scene, but we didn't know how we were going to achieve the intent of the scene. So it was not scripted in its entirety. It was just, there was a dhacha to every scene. This is what's going to happen. And now, so we improvised and found, sticking to our characters, found very interesting things in the scene.
That's
I
an
had
interesting
a
way to
ball working.
Yeah?
Means I don't want to look at a scripted line anymore. It's so much fun. There's a million ways that the scene can go.
Wow.
So it was lovely. So those two films, and now I'm going to start shooting for Mirzapur season 2 and then Delhi Crime season 2.
Great. So looking forward to all this. I've been wanting to do this interview for very long. Finally did it. Thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.